topic we're looking at today is the business of edit. Can you mute Abdulhamid? The business of edit. I need to take care of this. I'm not reporting you, but I'm moving you. Okay. Sorry about that. The business of editing is the topic we are looking at today, and before I go into the presentation itself, what do you understand by editing? If somebody comes to you and asks you a question, are you an editor, or what do you understand by editing? Who wants to give us an explanation, a definition, or a conceptualization of editing? Who is willing to have a go at it? What do you understand by editing? Anyone, please? Editing, what does it say to you? What does it mean to you? Anyone? Nobody is talking. Should I just call somebody randomly, and then, because we're also supposed to talk. Let me look at my list. Isioma Opute, can we hear you, please? What do you understand by editing?
Okay, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
To me, editing is like trying to refine a content, trying to check for like grammatical errors, maybe usage of wrong tenses, just to make it correct and easily readable too.
Thank you very much for that. I love some of the keywords that you used, trying to refine the content, trying to make it easier to read, easier to access, easier to digest and to process. That is what editing is about. Ifeoluwa, do you want to have a go at it too? What do you understand by editing? What does it say to you?
Okay, good evening, everyone. I think editing is like a change in text of something. When you are trying to change the content of your writing or the context of events or stories. So that's what editing means to me.
Thank you very much, Ifeoluwa. Changing. You have to change the outlook, change the content, change even the direction, if that is what is required, of something, of a text, to edit it. And you guys have given us a very fantastic description of editing. So from my own whatever here, my findings, here is what I'm positing for us to take a look at. Editing is a process. For you to edit something, you have to go through a process or observe certain processes where you are reviewing the materials you're working with and you are modifying it. That's leveraging on what Ifeoluwa just told us. You are modifying, you are changing the outlook, the structure, maybe some technical information or nuances of the material you're working with. So you are doing all this in order to improve the overall quality of that work. So when you edit, you're actually changing some things, reviewing some things, revising some things, dropping some entirely, adding more to it, so that the overall quality of the material you are editing is better. And some of the things that you also be, in terms of improving the quality, that you are making it clearer. You give that material clarity. You also touch on the structure, the way it's arranged. Is it well arranged? Is it sequential? Is it A, B, C, D to Z? I mean, so that there's a sequence, there's a flow to the narrative, to the material, and also that the information there, they are accurate. So these are some of the things you are focusing on when you are editing. You are trying to make the material clearer, easily accessible to people to read, to understand, and then you are making the structure, the plot, or the sequence of it to flow in a symmetrical way that people can easily follow the narrative without getting confused. And you are also ensuring that some of the things that are there, some of those information that are there are accurate. So those are the things you focus on when you are editing a material. And then, you can edit text, you can edit images, videos, that's media files. So it's not just limited to textual content alone. You can also edit other forms of media. So, but we know that for the purpose of this our interaction today, we are looking mostly at textual content, textual material that you are editing. So, in terms of forms now, just like I just said, when you are working with a written content based on what you guys have just even described to us, you're talking about correcting the grammatical errors in that text. The grammatical errors. You are trying to correct the grammatical errors in the text. So I will need to make maybe a couple of you guys more co-hosts so that you can be admitting those who are coming in. So once somebody start to make noise, the person should be removed immediately, so that we can reduce the number of nuisances. So I think just made you, John, a co-host, and I'm making you a fellow co-host as well. So that at least we also have people to assist in case Deborah herself, maybe she gets moved out of the meeting, then it's your So please, among the four of you that are co-hosts, you'll be able to admit people who are coming into the meeting, and you'll be able to moderate the session. If somebody is disturbing, somebody is making noise, please just like we have who is this person now? The person should be removed, please. Thank you. So we are looking at if you're
Wagwan. Come on, everybody, wave your hands like this.
wow. You can see why Bible says that when God created human beings, was like, and God was sad that He created human beings because we have different issues. We have things that we do that will just be. There's a rule when you join a session, just mute yourself. You are doing whatever, then don't constitute a nuisance to others. So back to our presentation. So we're talking about when you correct grammatical errors, when you are revising or editing a written content, a written material. You're also looking at, you rephrase the sentences for better flow, because some sentences can be awkward. Some construction, when you read them, they can be very vague and meaningless. So an editor who is editing a written material has the responsibility to rephrase some of those constructions, some of those sentences, to make them clearer and easier to understand, easier to actually enjoy. Because when you read a work, you should be enjoying the reading, not suffering on account of it. Then an editor eliminates redundant information. There are sometimes you use when you read some things, because of the limited vocabulary of the writer, they tend to overuse certain words, and that make those words to be redundant. When you overuse certain words or certain expression, it makes the work redundant. So an editor would watch out for some of those words and then start to either remove them or substitute them so that the writing can be fresh. So an editor eliminates, I say an eliminator, and an editor is an eliminator of redundancy in construction, in certain information, and it also ensures that the writing conveys the message, the intended message, in an effective way. It's not everything that is written that is effectively written. It's not every communication message that is effectively conveyed. That is the onus of the editor to ensure that the message, the writing conveys its intended message to the reader, so that there's no break of communication between what the writer intends to talk about and the interpretation that the reader is having from it. That is the work of an editor. So editor is the bridge between the readers and the writer, to ensure that there is seamless transmission of message and is digested, is understood, and there's feedback. Where if there is a call for one. Then for media content, I'll just talk about this one briefly because yes, it's also a form of editing. When you have to work with a media content, the editor there has to trim it. Some of those things, are you guys, for some of those documentaries, some of those stuff you watch on YouTube, on the on TV, they are trimmed, they are edited. And it's the editor that trims the rushes, because when they initially record some of those productions, they are called rushes. So it's the work of the editor to assemble the rushes together, or the clips, and then trim, remove, and then add effects. So those are the things that a post-production person or an editor does in terms of media files. They trim, they add effects when there are effects needed, the montage, opening montage, closing montage, the credit, the subtitling when there's need to do that. And then the lighting, if there's a place that the light is not it's not so bright, the editor would ensure that, okay, they illuminate that side and all that, so that it is easier for the audience to understand and to flow what is going on. So that is on the part of editing media content. Now, back to textual editing. Textual editing, there are various types, and we'll just look at the major ones, the major types of editing in terms of written content. There's developmental editing, or what is called content editing. This kind of editing is very rigorous because it focuses on the structure, on the overall content itself, looks at the style, is a bit omniscient, the way it appraises and treats or improves a writing piece. So a developmental editor is the one that will see, okay, this thing is not so, it doesn't align in terms of structure. The structure is not well arranged. Maybe in a manuscript, for instance, the writer, maybe chapter 3 should have been chapter 2. Maybe chapter 5 should have been chapter 4. So a developmental editor that looks at the whole manuscript, reads through everything, looks at the structure, and then start to what? To restructure the work. It's a very tedious one. And apart from just, looking at the structure, also where there are maybe inadequate information, when there are buried or embedded information that could have been better amplified. Maybe there are what they call, there are diamonds in the rough of that content. The developmental editor brings them out, write as well as the writer, and embellishes some points, makes them clearer, makes them easier, so that this is what could have been. They see beyond what they are presented with, and they just make it clearer, bigger, and more organized. They look at the style, they look at the overall content. So, it's a reorganizer. For paragraphs that maybe this paragraph should be the introductory paragraph, is the development editor that does that. And though this paragraph is better up there, this one is better down, they rearrange a lot of things in the work. And they also ensure that there's consistency in the tone and the style of the writing. There's constant, if the writer has an authoritative voice, a developmental editor ensures that the writing maintains that voice, that tone throughout the book, throughout the material they are reviewing. And then, because in the course of doing the rearrangement, they rearrange, they embellish, they amplify, they remove what's an editor is like, I tell my team, my editorial team, that as an editor, you are like a surgeon. You are a surgeon, because that's they bring something to you, have to fix it. So that is what a developmental editor does. It's a very tedious work, because they own the structure, they own the flow, they own the narrative of the writing, and the onus is on them to make it better, clearer, and more powerful in terms of communicating, the message they are communicating, and effective as well. So that is one. Then the second is line editing. Line editing. This is a bit more detailed, because unlike the development editor that looks at the structure, rearranges, the line editor is just like the word says, is linear in its own operation, is linear in our own thinking, because it's looking at the word, at the document, sentence by sentence, word by word, to be sure that everything aligns with the nuances or the norms of good writing. They are very detailed. They are looking at the sentence by sentence, the word by word, all those specifics. That's what a line editing does, so that the sentences are clearer, the style is uniform, and the tone is similar. They also look at the word choice. What kind of words is this writer using, and is it the right kind of words for this kind of content, this kind of message, this kind of book, this kind of work? So they substitute words, better words. For when you have ineffective words in the work they are looking at, they use better, because the line editor is very vast, usually very vast in words. They have good or commendable word power. They have vast vocabulary. So they analyze, and then, this one is better. There's a better word that you could have used for this kind of expression, and a line editor does that. So they adjust sentences, the structure, they eliminate, I mean, awkward expression, awkward phrasing, and they tighten the language of the overall work so that, I mean, it's more appealing to the reading, more appealing to the eye, more appealing to the hearing. Okay, it's being read. And they are very consistent. They ensure that there's consistency because they are doing linear editing, line editing, word by word, sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph. That is what a line editor does. Then there's also copy editing, which is essentially correcting grammar, the punctuation, spelling, the syntactic arrangement of words. And this just to also ensure there's consistency and quality in the writing. The formatting is consistent, the style is consistent, the citation, if there are citation, you are not just using different citation methods or guides, there's style guides. Everything must be consistent, and that is what the copy editor does. They focus on those details in terms of the formatting of the word, the style guide, the citation, whatever it is, everything aligns. There's not one that is awry or that is out of place. They fix grammar, grammatical errors. They ensure that the writer uses correct punctuation. They check the spelling, typographical errors. They look at that as well, and they just want to ensure that the work actually comes out fine. So that is a copy editor, that copy editing. Then the last one, major one, that is I'm not talking about proofreading. Okay, yeah, proofreading is the last one. I'm surprised. That's why I think this must have jumped. Yes, it jumped. Proofreading. This is like the final stage of the editing, and the proofreader just looks at, okay, certain those surface value errors, typos, spelling, wrong spelling, because in the course of actually editing, it's also possible that the previous editors who had worked on the project, on the document, might have also have maybe left out some, or they also even added their own in the course of editing. So a proofreader is the final operative in the editorial chain that just takes care of all those little oversights and no typos, punctuations, or mistakes, maybe spelling mistakes, and they just ensure that the whole material is good, is quality, is fantastic to read. So a proofreader looks at that, spelling errors, typographical errors, punctuation issues, formatting inconsistency, and they just fix it. But before it gets to the proofreader, the developmental editor will have done a lot of work. The line editing will have done a lot of work, and then the copy editor will have done a lot of work. So the proofreader is like the fourth team, a fourth member of the editorial team that works on the material to ensure that the material is well written and is actually communicating its intended message. Then what are the other types? We have other types, structural editing. This one is also a bit like the developmental editing, but just on structure, just on the structure, the organization of the text and all that. And then there's fact checking. So people are making a career out of just this alone, fact checking, just to ensure that the data, the statistics, some of the information that the the writer, claims in the work, that those are actually accurate and they are factual. So that is what a fact-checking editor does. And some people have started making a career just out of fact-checking alone. They have fact-checking sites or fact-checking businesses where all they do is just to check facts. And then, and then there's technical editing, which one has to do more or less with specialized topics and all those field of human endeavors, engineering, medical, where you have to actually, the technical editor works on the materials to ensure that the terms, the terminologies, all those register that are used in that profession, that they are accurately used in the material they're editing, and they are not also misspelled or miscommunicated. Because once it's technical material, it means that the audience that is going to read them are going to be technical audience as well. So you don't want to, you are reading a book on medicine, and then you are seeing engineering terms that do not belong there. So those are the things that a technical editor does. So I want us to do a small demo to just show us how we edit, but I'm not sure we'll be able to do that. Maybe some other times I will look at that. I will just keep this. I want us to just work with because I didn't tell you guys ahead, and I don't know how many of you are actually having your system here. You need your system and your Microsoft Word to be able to do this demonstration. So we'll just keep it for now so that I will have shown you some of the things that you need to take note of in time when you are editing. So let's go to what makes a good editor. There's a saying that a book is never written, it is rewritten. A book is never written. All those books that we consider to be classic today, they are not, the way we are reading them is not the original way they were written. It took a team of editors to work on them to make them such a fantastic end product that became a classic. So the editor is very important, or the editorial process is very important in the beauty, the ultimate quality of any work. And to be a quality editor, a good editor, you need to have certain attributes. You must be attentive to details. You must be somebody who's attentive to details. You can't be somebody who glosses over things. You must be attentive, you must be meticulous. You must have a strong language acquisition. You have strong vocabulary. This is one of the areas I usually even have faults with editors. You can't get a material, and then there are some words the writer has used, and not the writer is also not as informed. And the editor is not able to actually substitute some of those words with better words, with proper diction. An editor must be very vast, must have a good command of the language they are using to edit. Most of the time, because we are talking in this context, English language. You can have terrible writers, but you can't have terrible editors, because that will just spoil the whole thing. A writer can be terrible, but once it gets to the editor's responsibility to make that work sterling, beautiful. As I said, the book is never written, it is rewritten. That is a balance in the editing world, in the publishing world. It's not what the writer writes, it's what the editor or editors have been able to do to the writing that will make it a quality read. And then must have knowledge of grammar in the language they are editing. They must have good communication skills. For you to be able to even edit, you must have good communication skills. They must be diplomatic in the way because there are times you have to communicate your findings, some corrections to be made to the writer, who may get defensive, who may find offense in some of the things. So you have to communicate, changes to be made in a very diplomatic way that the writer will not take offense, will not feel bad. And then, they usually editing is a patience work. You have to be patient because you can go through the same material over and over again. That's why it's not everybody that has the temperament to be an editor. You have to be patient, painstaking in reviewing the materials, in going back. Oh, maybe you saw something there and the author, the writer has written something earlier that contradicts each other. You have to, oh, this person has said this. You can't say, I have left that page. You have to go back to that page and go and align the information together. That is what an editor does. And they are usually objective. You can't be a bigot. You can't be a fanatic, whatever your religion is, whatever your belief is, and be a good editor. An editor is objective. You can give materials to edit in another religion, in another field, in another whatever. You don't have to agree with it to do your work as an editor. An editor is objective. They are not bigotry or bigoted. And you must have that spirit of consistency. You know when something is out of line. An editor must be consistent in their thinking, in their operations. They know they are stable people. And they have problem solving ability, because there are some times, you see some materials and the materials themselves just even come with a problem for the reader if it gets to them. So the editor has the responsibility to own that problem and solve it right there and then before it gets out. Working with the writer, working with the other colleagues, developmental, copy editor, structural editor, line editor, to ensure that this problem that we've seen is solved. And you must have, once you are now also looking at maybe specialized field, you must have subject matter knowledge about such field that they are reviewing. And they must be very efficient with time management, because everything you're going to edit is with time. You're working within time. And if eventually working in a publishing house, there are deadlines, there are schedule, there are deadlines for every work that needs to be done. So an editor has to manage his or her time efficiently to meet deadlines. And a good editor will be empathetic with the writer. You can't, because it's possible that when you are reading the stuff and then you are just getting annoyed. So you have to also be empathetic with the writer that, okay, this writer probably doesn't know much, and that's why they are writing this way. So you can't just start to vent your anger, your frustration on the work of the writer, because the writer is giving you a torrid time. Be empathetic, be considerate, be compassionate in the work you are actually reviewing. And then they are usually flexible and adaptable. That is why it takes, they are editors. They are not, you can have horrible writers, like I said, you can't have horrible editors. That would be disastrous. So editors are flexible people, and they are adaptable. They know, okay, oh, yeah, this person write this way, maybe why not? This can go. It may not actually conform maybe with norms or nuances of strict or rigid good writing, but why not? The world keeps evolving, and this is actually becoming a fad. So they are adaptable, they are flexible, they are not rigid in their ways, in the way they work. And they also have good knowledge of style guides, because there are different style guides, the Chicago Manual of Style, the IPA. So they know the different ones. If you are even reviewing, they know, okay, this particular writing uses this kind of style, and they know, okay, these are the things that should look out for when editing or when reviewing, the work, based on the style guides. So they have good knowledge of the style guide, which is like their own manual for the work. I think that is that for today. Do we have any question? Do we have any questions, comments, addition, subtraction? Anyone? No question? No comment? No protest? If you have protest, please, you can also say it. Okay. In the event of no question, nothing, I want to say thanks for coming, everyone. We will see again next week. I don't know if I'm the one taking you guys next week. So we'll see again next week to continue this session. So from here, let me say goodbye.